In this episode, we'll learn about the impact of phones on relationship and our health. Helping us with this is an entrepreneur, host of the Auro podcast, and the natural storyteller. Welcome to the show, Joey. How are you doing?
Toby, I'm doing great. It's so good to see you and really excited to have our conversation today.
I'm so excited to be speaking with you also. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode for a civil conversation about something that we use every day of our lives, maybe more than we use other things. which is our our relationship with phones, attachment with phones. Yeah, even I believe a lot of people who are listening to this episode right now are doing it on their phones too. So
Mm.
yeah, it's going to be a very interesting conversation to have. But why I'm so happy that I'm speaking with you right now is because, like I said before we started recording, you experienced something, and then due to this experience of yours, you are taking that opportunity to change the world.
Mm.
And if you could just reflect back on that day,
Yeah.
that time, I would just like to learn from your story. Like if you reflect on that moment when you
Mm.
missed seeing your son make the game-winning goal,
Yeah.
how did you feel, and how did it change
Mm.
your life afterwards?
Well, it does go back about 11 years. So my son, Harrison, who is 16 years old now, when he was 5 years old, Harrison was playing his very first soccer season. And Harrison is still, to this day, he's just a great kid. He's so sweet. He has a high kind of emotional quotient. He's a really, really great kid. And when you're playing youth sports, it requires a certain level of aggressiveness, almost like you just got released from prison to succeed.
Mm,
And Harrison is a sweet kid, just didn't have a lot of that at 5 years old.
mm,
And so in this soccer season, he was the last kid on the team to have not scored a goal. Everybody else on the team had scored a goal. And so my wife and our daughter and I, we'd go out on a Saturday afternoon. We took the lawn chairs out on the sidelines to watch yet another game. And really, Toby, I hate to say it this way, but in some ways to kind of pass the time, just to kind of
mm,
get that over with, get the hour over with, and then go home. But this day was a little bit different. It's about midway through the game. So it wasn't quite the game winning goal, but it was a magical, huge, momentous occasion when Harrison, midway through the game, rears back his leg,
mm,
kicks the soccer ball, and it rolls, glides over the grass into the back of the net for his very first goal. And to say it was magical really, really is true. The crowd went wild. See, every parent knew that it was Harrison's first soccer goal. His coach certainly knew. His coach ran out and lifted him up off the ground.
mm,
But there was this little split second in between Harrison scoring the goal and when his coach picked him up, when he did something that kind of in a way fills my heart up and kind of haunts me at the same time. So he looked to the sidelines to me
mm,
to share this moment with me, to see the smile on my face, see the pride on my face, and share this moment together, except for the fact that I missed all of that. Like it was this beautiful moment, but I missed every second of it because I was looking down at my phone.
mm.
And so, my sweet little 5-year-old son who promises me this, the good news is he promises he doesn't remember this moment, but I sure do, because I had a realization right then, Toby, that was I spent all my life dreaming about the family I would have someday. I spent all my life dreaming about the kids I might have one day. And then I found myself in the presence of my most important relationship being distracted by a relationship with a phone, with an object. And it seemed so silly at the moment. And it seemed I was actually just kind of mad at myself. I was mad at the game, right? I was mad at my phone. I was mad at all of it. I just said, what am I doing here? And I would love to say, Toby, I would love to say that everything changed from that day on, but it just didn't. I mean, it was kind of the same. I probably got better for a few days, but the truth is, this thing in my pocket was so compelling that I had developed such a relationship with it that it continued to get in the way of my most important relationships. So I got a text probably 4 years later from my now business partner, Heath Wilson, and he said, "Hey, I have an idea. Let's go to lunch and talk about it." And the idea was what if this world that we experience, and I bet you a lot of people listening can relate to a story kind of like that, whether it's with your child, whether it's with your partner, your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whether it's with just a friend and being phone snubbed or phone snubbing somebody else.
Mm,
I bet you we can all relate to it because this is a universal problem. But the question Heath posed to me was, what if the world could look different? What if our relationships with the people around us became more important than the relationship with our phones. What would that world look like? What would marriages look like? What would the next generation of kids look like? What would our friendships look like? Frankly, what would, we can talk about this in a little bit later, but what would intimacy in relationships look like? And I'm not talking about like a sexual intimacy. I'm just talking about a closeness in friendship. What could intimacy in relationships look like if we changed the relationship that we had with our phones? So we've been on that journey for about 5 years now of doing that. We've been on the market with Auro for the last couple of years, and we are seeing and we're hearing stories personally and with the Auro community of people who are actually experiencing that life. People like me who were so felt subjected to this relationship with my phone that it was getting in the way of my most important relationships. And I'm seeing a complete flip-flop now in my life and the life of others. And I'll close with this for people who are listening to this, who might be able to relate to this. It's easy to get our defenses up, one, and say, oh, another person telling me to be off my phone. That's really not it. This is someone who was, I guarantee you, worse than you at your phone, who has experienced life on the other side. So if there's nothing else that somebody walks away with right here, it is, I want you to have hope inside that the world can look different. If you can relate to this, that your world can look different by changing the relationship we have with our phones.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. One question that just popped in my head was like, were you able to forgive yourself, after, missing that moment, that precious moment? Have you been able to say, okay, even though, it's repeated itself that you go attach your phone again years afterwards or moments afterwards, that from whenever I think back about that moment, whenever I think back to that time in the field or something like that, have you been able to say, yeah, okay, it's bygone, it's over, and I'm moving forward from that?
Yeah, I almost look back. Certainly I have. Let me think exactly how to say this. My heart hurts a little bit when I think about that moment and other moments like it. But there's another side of it that I'm just so grateful for it. I'm so grateful that I had that moment and have this opportunity to correct it. Where my, maybe we're not always aware of the areas where we can improve. But in that moment, I knew very clearly, here's an area that I have an opportunity to improve in. And I would say that in the last 10 years as a dad, let's call it 5 or 6 years, particularly as we've been on this journey, it's almost like I've been able to redeem that moment. My son and I watched a movie yesterday, totally phone free. We sat there and we laughed together and we had a great time. My daughter and I, we'll watch, I can tell a great story later about her and me watching a movie, or us jumping on the trampoline and just redeeming those moments. And I think that's another thing along with this hopefulness. If you felt this before, that redemption, this is a redemption story. And the fact is, Toby, smartphones are brand new. They're 16, 17 years old. My parents did not have smartphones when I was growing up, so I wasn't taught those ways. They had no ability to teach me because they didn't have those. So we are now, as a society, as a culture globally, this is not a European problem. This is not an American problem. This is not an African problem. This is a global problem, and we all feel it. And culture is now taking a little pause, I think, and saying, I don't like how things have gone the last 16 or 17 years. This is not us saying we're going to get rid of our smartphones. I have an iPhone. I'm not getting rid of my iPhone. I love my iPhone. But we are taking a pause to say, I think based on the mistakes we've made in the past, that we can do this better moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. Based on the mistakes we made in the past, we learn from them and move forward from there. Yeah, I like that. For a listener out there who is asking right now, okay, Joey, is my attachment to my phone a habit or an addiction, or is there a borderline between it being a normal habit to becoming an addiction? I have to really, go to rehab for example.
I love that question. And it's such a good question. And here's what I'll say. And we read a lot of people who are smarter than I am will tell you that our relationship with our phone, and just to be clear, I'm talking about the relationship we have with our device. There are certainly apps on our phone that have addictive qualities to them, like almost like pulling the slot machine. But our relationship with our phones, a lot of us will use terminology when we're talking about our phones, or we'll say something like, "Oh, I'm so addicted to my phone," and we say it in a way, in kind of an interesting way. We say it, and basically, kind of the subtext of what we're saying is, "I'm so addicted to my phone." and there's nothing I can do about it. That's the way we talk about it. And the smart people around us say it actually doesn't, the relationship with our phone doesn't really look like addiction. It looks more like compulsive behavior. So that's one data point. But even just in the way we talk about it, I think is really, really important, because when you say you're addicted to something, you are basically saying you have no power over it. And in fact, if you go to any 12-step program, Alcoholics Anonymous and things like that, the very first step is for you to say, I'm totally powerless. But if instead of us saying we're addicted to our phones, what if we just changed the way we talk about it a little bit and we said, I actually have a bad habit with my phone. I'm not addicted, but I do have a bad habit. To me, I don't know about you, Toby, but when I hear that and I think, okay, oh, this is a habit, not an addiction, I kind of sit up a little bit straighter and I kind of pull my shoulders back, because in my mind, I think, well, I can do something about a habit. An addiction, I may be completely subject to the power of that thing over me. But with a habit, I say, I have agency here. I can actually do something about this here. And this is what we're really trying to address. This is what I want people to internally believe as you're listening to this, instead of saying, I'm addicted to my phone, or how about this? Or my spouse, my partner is addicted to their phone. Because then you're kind of casting it on them. Or maybe even worse, you say, oh, my kids, they're so addicted to their phones. What if instead we gave them a little bit more credit? We gave our spouses more credit to say, no, they have some bad habits and I know they're going to do better. It's almost like believing the best in ourselves, believing the best in our spouses, believing the best in our kids. And I just refuse, in my mind, in my heart, I just refuse to believe that I have no power over something. I just kind of like the idea that I can do something about something, especially something that has such an influence over my life. So when it comes to habit versus addiction, again, the clinical answer from a lot of smart people is very, very few people are actually addicted, clinically addicted to their phones, in the low single digits. Most of us have some kind of compulsive behavior around it. But even more important for that, as you're listening, it's to personalize it into your life. I would just encourage people to stop saying I'm addicted to it. And if you need to replace it with somebody else, say I have a habit that I can do something about.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of time I tell myself that, I mean, I have a very unhealthy relationship with my phone. When I find myself, being on my phone a lot of time, I say, oh, this relationship with my phone right now is not so healthy. I have to drop the phone a little bit. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I just get caught unaware sometimes, and when I reflect back, I'm like, oh, I've been on my phone for a long time, and when I'm trying to be accountable, I'm like, okay, I didn't do anything sensible with the phone. Actually, I was just playing around, fooling around, and that's not healthy enough.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you talked about it already, but I also want us to look into the effect of, phone attachment to our families and relationships that we have around us. Like, how can being on our phone a lot affect the relationship with the people that we have around us?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll start with, again, from our perspective, Auro is very, very focused on families. So we're focused on families of, whether it's a single parent or if it's partners or whatever it may be, and kids living in the home, specifically a lot of times with kids living in the home. What I'll focus on first is marriage, and then the impact it has on our kids. So there's a great research group in America called the Gottman Institute. And the Gottman Institute released a study that said that successful couples who remain married, they turn towards their partner's bids for emotional connection 86% of the time, while couples who didn't remain married only turn towards their partner's bids for emotional connection 33% of the time. So that whole idea of turning towards, and if, for me, I've been married 20 years, and my wife, I know she will put out these subtle bids, and, bids, 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 and what that really means is her saying something very subtly, just trying to like nudge me in the right direction. So it could be something as simple as, oh, did you hear about that new restaurant that opened up in downtown? We live in Tennessee, downtown Knoxville. Did you hear about that new restaurant? She's not really, Toby, she's not really saying, I'm interested in the restaurant. What she's saying is, hey, dum-dum, take me on a date to that restaurant, right? She's very subtly doing it, but she's nudging me in that direction. And if I'm not paying attention, it'll totally pass by me. So this whole idea of noticing and turning towards those bids, we are physically unable to turn towards our partners when we're holding a phone. We are emotionally, certainly emotionally unable to turn towards their bids when we're on our phone. So
Mhm.
this thing is getting in the way of that. And I would venture to say the biggest culprit in the difference between those two groups, the 86% who turn towards their partner's bids and the 33% who turn towards their partner's bids, I would say the biggest culprit there is our phones. Absolutely is those things. And again, I know hearing this, some people, it's easy to get two feelings. One is a defensive feeling, like I'm calling you out, and just it's okay, relax. There was no one worse than me. And then the other one is just it almost feels overly simplistic. It's like oh well oh really that's it that's just the phone. I am not saying that's a silver bullet, but what I am saying is that the thing that is the biggest piece, all the good in our lives, the biggest thing in the way of all the good in our lives is our phone. So would that have solved all those people's problems in 33%? No, there are more systemic issues, but
Mhm.
you're unable to address those issues while you're holding your phone. So the damage to our marriages is catastrophic. And I used this word earlier, and I'll use it again, the intimacy in our marriage. This is eroding the intimacy, our willingness to open up to our in a conversation with our spouses. And one reason why is because we've been conditioned to do this, and our kids are too. If I'm in the middle of a conversation with my wife and she's really sharing something, she's opening up her heart, all it takes is one glance at my phone and I've killed that moment. And she is hurt and she feels rejected, and she's probably not going to be that likely to open up again to me anytime soon. So it's a painful thing, and we're inflicting this again and again and again in our marriages. But it also goes for our kids. So our kids, and studies have confirmed this again and again and again, teenage unhappiness right now is at an all-time high. Suicidal ideation is at an all-time high. Anxiety is at an all-time high. And it is no coincidence that it's been in the last 16 years that that has occurred. Since smartphones became ubiquitous, since smartphones came out, this is the thing. This is the single tie-in that's tied into teenage unhappiness. And the real difference, and this is calling out my generation of parents, by the way, people like me who have 14, I have a 14-year-old daughter, 16-year-old son. I'm calling out my generation of parents. This generation of parents, we've been raising kids who have been raised by parents who are looking at screens instead of their eyes. And that hurts as a kid. And I'm not saying, by the way, we give our kids 24 hours a day attention. We don't want to just be helicopter parents. But I am saying when our kids are trying to connect with us, there's no deeper need inside of a child for connection that begins with eye contact. So the thing we're looking at that's most important. And instead, we've been looking at our phones in the meantime. So what happens when a kid is 15 years old and is getting bullied on social media or is getting body shamed or whatever that is? They haven't built up that resilience inside of them to know how to overcome that because they don't have that foundational sense of value that only comes from the connection with the people around them. So that's the bad news. I mean, it's having catastrophic effects on us. And if nothing else, for people listening, if nothing else, we got to do this for our kids. We got to do this for the next generation. And the only way for us to do that, because what we've been doing up to this point, Toby, what we've been doing is blaming the kids. We've been saying, oh, it's the kids' fault. But the truth is that we as parents, we call this the three M's. So the truth is, as parents, we've been abiding by the three M's that we as parents have been modeling. We model a bad relationship with our phones where we have it at the dinner table, or when our kids are trying to talk to us, we look at our phones, or we scroll Instagram when we should be watching a soccer game instead, similar to me. But we model this bad relationship with our phones. Then we give our kids phones, and then they mimic what we model. And then we do something crazy. We get mad at our kids for mimicking what we have modeled to them. So this is a real problem for us. But what if we just said, no, I'm going to model a good relationship with my phone. And then my kid's going to get a phone one day and they're going to mimic that good relationship because that's what's normal. That's what they've seen from me. And then they're going to be able to make memories and make meaningful memories and moments and any other cool M you can think of. But it begins with us as parents recognizing that we have the power here to change our own relationship with our phone before we begin blaming others for their bad relationships with their phones.
Amen. Yeah, I believe that so much. I mean, I think our children or the younger ones, like they look up to us and they take up our habits also.
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah.
they see us do, they repeat it basically. Yeah.
And it's the, this is, and we all know this, we've all seen this in our lifetime, in most of our lifetimes, we've
Mm,
seen this play out because this is exactly what happened with smoking.
mm,
So for years, they were trying to curb smoking in kids and nothing worked until we found out that the secondhand cigarette smoke that we were blowing, that parents were blowing, was affecting our kids. And we realized, oh crap, this is hurting them. This is
mm,
hurting our kids. And so then adult smoking behavior changed. And in tandem with that, childhood smoking changed. So in fact,
mm.
when they began tracking statistics in adult smoking, from when they began tracking it to now, adult smoking is down 78%. This is in the US. Since they began tracking smoking in kids to now, smoking in kids is down 78%. It's the
Wow.
exact same percent decrease because kids have now not grown up in homes where their parents are smoking, and so it's not normal to them. And
Mm,
Toby, I'm absolutely convinced we're going to look back on this with phones. We're going to laugh at ourselves. I can't believe we used to do that. And then
mm,
it's going to look so clear in a few years that says, oh, all of a sudden, when parents began taking this seriously for themselves, then
mhm.
the kids' behavior changed after that, because we do have that power as parents and as adults to normalize good behavior in culture and society.
Yeah, and that's going to be possible through your company. I'm very sure of that. Yeah, through ours. That'll be wonderful. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that time when we can look back and say, "Wow, we've come a long way, and we
Yeah.
have this very healthy relationship with our phones." Yeah.
Mm.
But Joey, if someone approaches you right now and says, I do a lot of business on my phone, and I know, yes, I have a very bad habit with my phone and it's affecting my relationship. What can I do right now to be
Mm.
able to, you know, attend to my family, attend to my loved ones, attend to my relationship, and still, you know, be active on every platform I have to be active on for my business, maybe a social media manager or a content creator, for example.
That's a great question, and I think what's hard in this discussion is we're always looking as humans. We're looking for right and wrong. We're always looking for one or the other. There is
Mhm,
gray area in here, and one of the gray areas is the fact that our phones have a lot of good usefulness in our life. You are
mhm,
managing your business. You're putting out great conversations, great content. You're doing great work through your phone.
mhm,
So this is not for us to say our this is why we focus on the relationship with our phone, because not all screen time is bad. It's
mhm,
certainly not. A lot of screen time is very good. Again, in some of the examples you just described. So what I would encourage people to do is focus for yourself on back to the relationship. Am I prioritizing human relationships over my phone relationship? And a couple very easy guidelines for you. I would give three things as just like very, very healthy guidelines and practices for people who are listening.
yeah.
The first one, as you're doing that, is for you to spend an hour away from your phone a day. So
Mhm,
physically distant from your phone for an hour a day. And this is the real key. And this is the problem is our proximity to our phones. Our phones are with us 24 hours a day. So just begin to break that. Just begin to break that time that you have with your phone all the time. So 91% of us have our phones 24 hours a day. So when you spend any amount of time away from your phone, you're kind of joining that 9% of people who do that on a daily basis. And that's a muscle you can build. If it's spending an hour away from your phone seems daunting or seems challenging, just start with 5 minutes away from your phone, but begin to build a daily practice of spending time physically distant from your phone. So spending an hour away from your phone is super, super powerful per day. Second one I would tell is for people to establish sacred times and sacred places that are phone free zones. So very easy example, and maybe the easiest example is at the table where you eat. Just make
mhm,
that a phone free zone. And that could be you go to a restaurant, you could play a fun game that my friends and I, we go out, we exchange phones. I give my phone to my friend Matt, my friend George gives me his phone. We exchange phones. And so then we're not holding our own phone, or you stack them in the middle or whatever it is. But maybe just begin with the table where you're eating. At home, it's easy. Just go put it in a drawer. If you have Auro, put it in an Auro flip session or an Auro box. But
mhm,
remove those moments. If you're a parent, a great time could be watching a family movie or in your child's bedroom. Don't bring your phone in your child's bedroom. So establish those sacred times and sacred places.
mhm,
And then the third one, I would encourage people just to search for moments of connection.
mhm,
So if let's say a friend, Toby, let's say you're doing some work on your phone and your friend says, "Hey, can I talk to you? I'm kind of going through a hard time right now." And you could have been doing your work on the phone. For you to say to them these 6 words, and I think these are the 6 most powerful words in the English language in a relationship in 2024. You just say, "Can I talk to you? Hey, let me put down my phone." You just
Mm.
say that, and then go physically remove your phone from that situation. If my daughter comes and says, "Dad, can I talk to you?" I should say, "Let me put down my phone," and then I go put it somewhere else. Because what you're communicating to that person is, while there are 8 billion people who can theoretically reach me on my phone, you're more important than every single one of them right now. So
Mm.
that's a powerful thing that will build intimacy in a relationship. So
Mm.
again, those 3 things, those are 3 very, very basic ways to start is spend an hour physically distant from your phone every day, establish sacred times and sacred places away from your phone, and then search for moments of connection where you can say, "Let me put down my phone." And that's,
Yeah.
by the way, Toby, just as the closing line on that one is,
Mm.
this is we have a business. Auro has a business that helps people put down their phones, and it's incredibly effective and it changes people's lives. And I fully believe that. But people can start what I just said. They can start that today. They can start that right now. You don't have to go to any website to join anything. You don't have to buy an Auro box. You can just start that today and begin to build those practices in your life.
Yeah, I think that's a very perfect segue. Like, I would like to learn that already. Like, how does Arrow, your company, how does it help people solve this problem?
Yeah. Auro helps, as a principle, Auro helps use technology to reduce your screen time. We will help
Mm.
you reduce your screen time so that you can increase your family time, so that you can increase your friend time.
Mm.
And you're talking to somebody right here. I've said it for 5 times before in this conversation.
Mm.
No one was worse than I was. And I will tell you, this has changed my life, and it has
Mm.
changed thousands and thousands and thousands of other people's lives who needed some help to put down their phone. So we make it easy. Auro helps you put down your phone through a habit forming app. We have an app that makes it super, super easy, which up to this point, we've only had a box that you can put your phone in. Now, this app is available not just in the US, but everywhere. So I'd encourage people, just as you're listening, I'd encourage you just go download the app and take a 7-day trial. It's called Auro, ARO. Just search it wherever you get your apps in the Google Play Store or App Store. Just Google the app and you can get access to the app and see what it's like. So that is a product plug, but it's because I believe in it so much. But we do
Mm.
that through a habit forming app, and it helps you, it encourages you to, we track the time that you are away from your phone, so
Mm.
we can quantify the amount of time you're away from your phone. And that's a really powerful motivator. And we have all the cool stuff in the app that kind of helps you build your streaks and make it competitive and all that kind of stuff. And we also have a physical device for those. This is just in the US right now, but we have a physical device where you can put your phone. And when you put your phone in this Auro box, it's a beautiful home decor piece. It's over my shoulder here, this white
Mm.
box with a beautiful bamboo lid.
Yeah.
Charges your phone. You put your phone in there, and it automatically, when you drop it in there, begins to track the amount of time that you're away from your phone. So then you can build up all the competitive streaks and you can kind of compete with people in your home, things like that. But Auro we have spent years, we have hundreds and thousands of hours of people who have dedicated their lives to thinking about how can we use technology to make it easy for people to spend time off their phone so that they can engage in real life.
Yeah, I like the concept of the box behind you, and it looks so beautiful right now. Anyone who is watching the video or has the opportunity to watch the video should check this out at the moment. It's unfortunate that it's only in the US. I'm in Europe. Fortunately, I would have loved to get one of it already. And when you were describing it, one funny idea was coming to my head, and that was basically, I don't know if your box can also just lock up your phone for maybe an hour, and anything I do to open it will not make the box open until an hour is over. Then it opens up, and I can get my phone again. Because sometimes when you're at the early stage of getting rid of an habit of a habit, you tend to relapse or something like that, and then I was just like, oh, maybe there's a tool, maybe your arrow box could you know, when I put my phone in, it locks up. I can't unlock it. And in an hour's time, then I get my phone back. Except if there's like an emergency call and there's number registered in the app. Now, if this number calls, then give me my phone back. But if not, then just keep my phone. If I break the box, I won't get
Right.
my phone. Yeah, that would be so nice.
And
Yeah.
by the way, there are solutions out there. People have, timed boxes that they've up to this point, like where you can put your food in with a timer if you don't want an Oreos or something like that. So there are
Mm.
solutions available that will lock your phone. we like to think of RO, whether it's through the app experience. And just to clarify one thing, even though the box is not available in Europe, the
Mm,
RO app is. So again, that's
mm,
where I'd love people to go download the app to just try out the app because it's super effective. You flip your phone, it starts an RO session. And we encourage people to go just put it in a drawer then. You know, if you don't have an RO box, just go put it in a drawer, get it out of sight. And there's a researcher in London by the name of Dr. Maxi Heitmeyer. He's at the London School of Economics. He says the only way to reduce your screen time is for your phone to be physically distant and out of your visual field of sight. So
mm,
RO is the system that helps you get to that point of putting it away. So you do an RO flip session where you flip it over and then it tracks the amount of time you're away from your phone. And then you can go next level and go put it in a drawer to be away from you, because we believe that this is in locking it away, it almost feels like it's a bad thing. And I just don't feel like my phone is a bad thing. I really
ah,
don't.
yeah.
I think like in a moment when it's dinner time, I actually believe RO is an invitation to presence. So it's not a punishment. It's an invitation. It's saying,
Mm,
oh, use the RO app right now so you can be
mm,
fully present with your family at dinner. Like, what a great invitation for people to have. And so then at that point, instead of demonizing your phone, you're actually
mm,
celebrating the life that happens on the other side of it.
yeah.
So, and I do understand, by the way, some people might need lock boxes. So so if someone needs that, go right ahead. But I do believe, I just
Mm,
have this belief in all of us that
mm,
when we realize how beautiful and compelling the world around us is, that our
mhm.
phones and the allure of our phones will pale in comparison to the great things that happen on the other side of our phones.
Yeah, and I love that so much. I mean, what your product does, is basically reducing screen time and increasing the real life connections that we have. Basically, that's a beautiful thing that I believe everyone needs. Yeah. For people who like to maybe work with you, maybe get more answers to some queries or some questions, what's the best way to connect and work with you?
Yeah, you can go to our website. It is goaro.app,
Mm,
goaro.app, goaro.app, or like I said, just go directly to the App Store, to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, and just
mm,
download the app and just try it out. Get 7 days free trial. See
mm.
what it's like. See what it's like to experience the RO sessions. And we want to make sure it's accessible to everybody. So we have that free trial available. So just go download the app and get a feel for what the experience is like, or you can check out our website as well.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think one thing I found out on your website, oh, before I mention that, the link to your website to be in the show note of this episode. So I believe I encourage everyone out there to just click on the link or just go to the App Store or Google Play Store already and get the app. One thing I like also that I would like you to mention a bit is about the community that you're able to build up also. Like, how does that work? And is it like a community of people who encourage each other or, motivate each other basically on the journey?
Yeah, the community. So the community right now. So we're constantly evolving the app. The community we have right now that I really love is the community within your app, and the group that you can form is within the people in your home. So you can see.
Mhm.
So my wife and my son and my daughter, we can kind of see. I can see when they are in an RO session. So maybe I
Mhm.
won't call at that moment, or we can kind of compete against each other to see who has more time. Or you can tag your sessions as well. So
Mhm.
for me, right now my phone is in an RO session. So I will tag podcast after this. So I can see how much time I've spent in podcasts throughout the year. So that's fun. And then you can see the
Yeah.
people in your group, you can see that as well. We will over time continue to expand that community feature where you could maybe be in a group with someone, maybe a group of friends, and you can kind of compete with each other. So
Mhm.
that's something, excuse me, that's something that's in development. And for right now, we have focused within the home and the groups and the kind of the competitive nature of, I don't know about you, but some of the people in my home can be a little bit competitive, calling out my wife, but she can be a little bit competitive. So it's
Mm.
that in home competitiveness kind of makes it fun.
Yeah, that sounds so much fun. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I like keeping streaks. I like that. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of apps I have on my phone that have the streak system encourage me to use them more and even every day so that I don't break the streak.
Absolutely. Those streaks, it is a powerful motivator. It really is
Yeah.
a powerful motivator. My wife the other day, it was she had not had, I think she was on an 18-day streak of having time away from her phone, time in an
Mm,
RO session. And
mm,
I think it was like 11:30 at night, and she realized it. And so she went and got 5 minutes of Auro time so that she could extend her streak. And what a great thing. I mean, all the social media companies and all those people, they're using these things to keep us on our phones. So it's
Mm,
really fun when we can start using technology to get us off our phones, to pull us back into real life. And
yeah.
so that's kind of, if I were to say, that's kind of the thing that we're working on, is how can we leverage the good of technology to pull us back into the real world, into
Mm,
real life, so that we can notice. The term RO means to
mm,
notice the things that are around us, to turn towards the people who are most important to us, to take heed of all the things that we really want to notice around us. And that's what we're doing, is using technology to be able to bring that into our lives.
yes. To notice the beauty of life. Yeah, I
Hmm.
love that. Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you a question about, for someone out there who, for example, is struggling with his or her phone, or, having this strong attachment to your phone. But then I got the answer in my mind of like, oh, just go get the Arrow app and then you solve your problem.
Would love that. I
Yeah.
really would. Yeah, that's it. Just take a first step, because here's one interesting thing also. People are overwhelmed with what to do about technology. They are
Mm,
overwhelmed, and all we need, what I want to tell you, is you're a lot closer to the answer than you think you might be. So just take the next step. And in this situation, I fully believe in this. I've devoted my life and my career to it. Is take that next step towards RO. Let that be a tool for you. And as you follow that, I will promise you, it'll change your life. If you follow it as it's prescribed, it will change your life. But don't get bogged down in a feeling of hopelessness, or I don't know what to do. Just take that next step right now, to go take that step in your life. And not only you will thank yourself, but people around you will begin to thank you as they notice the things that are happening in your life.
yeah, I love that. You are a step away from the solution. Thank you so much, Joey. I really appreciate this conversation with you. It has been so enlightening speaking with you. And I encourage everyone out there once again to get the Arrow app. It's available on Play Store or on the App Store also. And you can get the 7-day trial for free, of course. And then you can decide to just go on with a plan or a subscription. Thank you so much. I appreciate this conversation with you.
Thank you, Toby.
Hey there, podcast enthusiasts. Are you ready to add a little sparkle to your day? If you're loving the insightful conversations and captivating stories on Mirror Talk Podcast, here's a friendly nudge to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on the empowering messages and thought provoking discussions we bring to your ears. But wait, there's more. We're all about spreading positivity and inspiration, and you can be a part of it too. How? By sharing the love with your friends and family. Share this episode with your loved ones, and let's create a ripple effect of empowerment and growth together. And hey, if you've been enjoying what you hear, why not take a moment to leave us a glowing 5-star review? Your feedback fuels our passion to keep delivering content that resonates with you. So hit that subscribe button, share the love, and leave us a review. Let's keep the conversation going and spread the Mirror Talk magic far and wide. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, your support means the world to us.